Thanks, Rob. Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Llewellyn. I'm the Director of Business Development as well as a certified high-performance sales coach for home care sales. I'm going to talk to you guys today about sales and marketing strategies and tactics. Specifically for 2017, I was really excited about the opportunity to speak about this, but it came sort of suddenly, and let me kind of expand on that a little bit. So, Playmaker CRM, Seth West you might have seen, he was the original presenter, and due to an injury, he was unable to do the webinar, so I'm filling in for him, and Seth's been a longtime colleague of mine, and it actually worked out pretty well because we worked on this together. I do some consulting work with Playmaker, so we're not going to be deviating too far from what Seth had in mind. But for those of you who don't know, since Seth isn't here, Playmaker CRM is the leading post-acute CRM in the market today. So they track your sales reps. They offer tools and data specific to sales. Now, who am I? Anybody who doesn't know, I'm that guy. I'm the blonde guy. I'm a published author. I'm a speaker. Obviously, I'm a high-performance sales coach. I'm an advocate for the aging in place community and a technology evangelist, and that's a big part of what I do is working with different technologies to help companies succeed. I'm also kind of a bit of a trivia for you. I'm a Core 40 certified assisted living administrator, which means in Florida I can go run in assisted living and keep them compliant, things like that. So I've been a part of this industry for some time. I get very interested in the sales process and interested in really what's at the bottom of all this. We do sales. We have a why. We don't just do home health sales because, or hospice sales or private duty sales because we want to make money. Sure, any owner would. But some of the most frail and quite frankly, needy people in our country are represented by us. We are standing in the gap for them, letting them age in place at home, and that's something I'm extremely passionate about. So on today's webinar, we'll talk about key data that's helping smart agencies grow in 2017, data-driven strategic sales planning, the power of partnerships, sales and operational harmony, and rethinking customer service. So I'm going to try to cover all those areas. Yeah, you might have to hold on to your seat a little bit. So with the characteristics of smart agencies, what do smart agencies know in 2017? Okay. There's a lot of things that probably come to mind when you think, what does a smart agency know? Like they know their profit margins, or they know what makes them unique, which is really important to the sales piece. Maybe they know the CEO of every hospital in your area. You know, which doctors refer the most, which doctors hate home care, which other agencies have reps that are the most cutthroat, and even a tough one, you know, which is their best rep and their worst rep, or potentially which is their best nurse and their worst nurse. You think those are kind of like, if it's a smart agency, they might know those things. Well, first let's talk about 2017. There's something really interesting about it being 2017. We were all given a gift, okay? The single most important tool in our arsenal came in 2017. I've seen it turn agencies around and take sales reps from mediocre to monumental success. There's just one very important thing that we got in 2017. Any guesses? It was your 2016 data. Now, a lot of people, you might think, well, this guy's crazy, my 2016 data. What do you mean? Like, you're selling me data? No, what I'm telling you is that your agency's data, the doctors and referral sources that referred to you, the patients you got, the ones that stopped referring, the ones that started referring, there is no more valuable piece of data that you can have in front of you than that. So when you think of that data, you're like, all right, well, what does that mean? How about who referred to you in 2016? Where's the value there, or who's ever referred to you? What type of patients do they send? Who started referring in 2016 and who stopped? And this is a really vital one. Who referred to a rep that's no longer there? And that's a big piece of kind of what I want to dive into here. Okay? Knowing your own data and knowing that piece, knowing who referred, helps you to actually pick up the baton and gain more referrals. The turnover rate in our industry is 50%, give or take. That's for both clinical and sales reps. So that means if you hire 6 sales reps in January, 3 of them will be gone by the end of the year. You'll replace those 3 if you do, and 1 to 2 of those will be gone as well. You have quite a bit of financial spend into that sales piece, but there's something that's often missed, and it's when you have that kind of turnover, your sales reps still end up making a splash in your market. But if you don't pick up where that splash is, if you don't actually go out there and work with that data, you know, they manage to get a referral source to refer, and then they're no longer with the company, you are potentially missing a key component to getting more referrals. I'm going to dive into that a little bit more here in a minute, as far as anyone who's referred to you once will refer to you again, or is more likely to refer to you again. But I want to dive into other things that smart agencies know. And actually, you know what, let me trail that back for a second. So when it comes to data, I want to talk about Facebook. It might seem like a bit of a tangent, but just about everybody here works with Facebook, is on Facebook. Some of you might not be, and well, that's your choice or whatever, but a lot of people are on there. And you see, every time they click like, they're telling Facebook something. They're actually telling marketing companies that work with Facebook something. They like this type of conversation. They have this political view. They like this type of food. They like these restaurants. When your birthday comes up, they know your birthday, so they know your age. They categorize you by age. Are you male or female? Are you married or single? They get all of that information from your Facebook. And it's a brilliant strategy. What you'll find is if you're going down on Facebook, it'll come up with a suggested post, and you'll think maybe one of your friends read it. And it's actually, they know so much about you, they know what you want to read. Now, what's interesting is in some cases, they know more about you than you realize or know about yourself. So Facebook's looking at everything that you're liking, everything that you're affirming to, everything that you're connected with, and they're saying, well, this is the type of person, they fall into this bucket. Well, a lot of times with our agencies, our agency isn't just you. It isn't even just an owner. It's every single employee, the company culture. It's the HCAP scores, local relationships. Your agency identity is equal to understanding who you are. So once again, this data, understanding what happened in 2016, 2015, those are vital to developing a plan for succeeding in 2017. So keep tracking with me here. I'm covering a lot in a short amount of time. So smart agencies, they also know that when competitors dictate your marketing plan, you lose your competitive advantage. So let's talk about market expectation. When Uber came onto the scene, some people thought, yeah, who'd jump in a stranger's car, right? You need a ride. So maybe you call a friend, or you call a cab, a limo service, you rent a car, you borrow a buddy's car. What Uber did was challenge and change the market expectation. I don't want to use disruptor because, yes, they disrupted, but what they really did is they changed what you expect out of the market. See, going to the lobby of your hotel and calling a cab for a scheduled ride or whatever to get where you want to be, you can just pick up your phone and you're a couple clicks away. It's faster and it's easier. But when competitors come in and they change the market expectation, it puts you at a place where you have to generally react, or you'll be either match pace or be left behind. So you end up needing to make an excuse on why you don't offer that service, or you need to offer that service. You can't maybe guarantee that you'll admit within 1 hour of receiving a referral, or For some of the more or less lawful areas, maybe you won't pay a referral source for a referral. The key to overcoming that competitive expectation is to set it. It's to be the one that makes that decision. So when you own your identity, you know who you are, you have your data, you understand that part of you, your USPs, your unique selling points. That separates you. The things that set you apart, you can make yourself the company you want to work with. You can set that expectation. So you know, smart agencies know that to have the competitive advantage, they really need to be the ones that are setting the market expectation. And lastly, they know that referral sources that have already referred to you are statistically more likely to refer to you than your new referral sources. Now, I've got lots of data to back this up, and it's kind of fun because when you actually look up customer retention metrics, you see that there is an overwhelming amount, thousands of metrics that back up the fact that if you've got them to buy from you once, you are astronomically more likely to get them to buy from you again. And the same goes with referring. So the referral sources that referred to you in the past year are poised to be your best referral sources this year. Actually, it's within the next 2 years, which I'll kind of dive into here now. Maybe you need proof. So, and I'm just going to get wild and dive in here. The average repeat customer spends 67% more on their 31st to 36 months of their relationship with a business than in 0 to 6. So if you received a referral in January of last year, you may still be 2 years from getting, you know, 8 referrals a month. But it's still key to know that that data, the fact that you had any relationship with them at all, poises you in a better place to get more. Now, we can go through all these, and I'm not going to read them all, but I do want to bring up something that is somewhat near to dear to my heart, and it's actually going to come up later in the presentation as well. And it's that 68% of customer defections, so referral source defections, so when they walk away, when they stop referring to you, occur because customers perceive an attitude of indifference. So imagine you finally got a referral from somebody, or you randomly got a referral from somebody. Your reaction to that and how you step up for them is going to make the difference 110%. So if you ever had they've had a bad experience, maybe a rep or nurse has a bad day, somebody's mean on the phone, a mistake happened, they didn't get a timely update, whatever it might be, how you react to that referral source, it really separates you from either great service or an attitude of indifference. So I mean, that's a key area that I really want to focus in on, because we're going to talk a bit about customer service. I want to dive into this final metric here, which is a company's highest spending customers are also most likely to choose from multiple brands. So, I mean, that seems obvious when you consider a hospital or some of these other things, but one of the things you need to consider, and this is from the Harvard Business School, is that there's a really good chance as you look at data, and we'll talk about market intelligence data a minute here too, not just your own data, but when you look at data and you see that they're referring to several different companies, there's a really good chance that they have a very high referral amount, and they're reaching out and spreading that out quite a ways. But we'll get into that. So let's talk about data-driven strategic sales planning. Anybody ever felt like this guy here? Like you're being trained by your referral sources? I think a good example might be, you know, when you go in and they have a calendar for lunch every single day, right? If you want to talk to the doctor, you've got to bring a lunch, you've got to bring something. Maybe they refer a whole bunch but never to your company, or they're always too busy to see you, or they only send you low-paying referrals, or for lack of a better term, bad insurances. I think we've all felt like this sometimes, and it gets frustrating. But I want to talk a little bit about how to approach referral sources in a different way, and it's through using your data, what we talked about before. To make a data-driven strategic sales plan, you really need to know who referred to you last year. And really, I like the idea of going back 36 months, 3 years. But you have to understand that once you get 2 years and 3 years, those numbers start to taper down. Obviously, who worked there, they have a pretty high turnover rate too. So they may be gone. If it's a hospital, it could be entirely different. But you need to build out a list of everyone that's referred, how much they referred, if they kept referring. You need to build out a list of who stopped referring to you. I mean, if a rep left, it can be really obvious, but sometimes it stops and no one notices because you're busy taking care of clients. And a sales rep is busy potentially working with other accounts, and they don't realize that maybe a consistent referral source simply stopped referring. Now, who's referring less is a big one as well, because you know, obviously if someone referred to you 40 last year and they referred 20 this year, you might be wondering, you know, what happened. And obviously decoding that is in your data as well as actually connecting with those referral sources and getting questions from them. Also, why does anyone refer to you anyways? This is a tough question, but why do they contact you? Is it because you have a great sales rep? Is it because you have a great program? Is it because you know the right people? Maybe somebody who works for you is the niece of a doctor. I mean, there could be 1,000 reasons, but you want to build up this data in a place so that you can understand you, okay? Now, step 2 is market intelligence data. Now, once again, this is not going to be a sales pitch in particular. I know Playmaker offers market intelligence data within their system, so you can look at, you know, key information like who refers, who sees the most patients, who do they refer to, are they loyal to those companies, can you service their patients, things like that. But you can actually gain access to this data through several sources. Maybe none of them quite as easy as Playmaker, but you still gain that access piece so that you can see this information. Now, if I'm going back to the information before, I understand who referred to me, I understand who stopped referring to me, I understand what relationships I had, referrals that went up and down. Then I dive into data that I can't possibly have, data that I have to purchase. And it tells me things like what physicians refer the most out of everybody and who do they refer to. You start building a targeted list. One list is everyone that referred to me, and they're kind of like your priority list. Your second list is who out there is referring. What kind of relationships do they have? Who do they refer to? You know, I mentioned that statistic before, but companies that are referring to a lot of folks are referring to a lot of folks. You can be a part of those lot of folks. And if you're smart and you master what makes you unique in your identity, you can actually win those referral sources over and start to nudge out some of the other companies. So, and then lastly, with market intelligence data, this is just something really important. Can you service their patients? I mean, we have a small number of private duty providers on here, and a lot of them would say, you know, I'm not going to a physician, or I'm not going to focus on that. Maybe hospice. Different companies and different business lines are going to look for a different type of patient. You need to understand, using this data, are you servicing, can you service their patients? Do you have programs set up so that you can meet their needs? Do you understand those things? This is all part of the strategic planning, because when you know you do, then you're able to build out that important plan and sell something that's going to matter to your referral source. Lastly, step 3 in building a plan, and this is the big part, is to build a customer-centered strategic sales analysis. Okay, I call it a CCSA. This is everything that we've just been talking about. look at your historical relationship data. Who referred? How have we served them before? This is something I haven't mentioned up till now, but do we have one of their patients on ServiceNow? Nothing gets to a referral source better than being able to say, hey, I'm working with your patient and this is what's happening that's good. When you can position that and show that you care, that you're meeting them, you're putting their needs first, that their patients are taken care of, that they're safe, they're up to date, that's a huge door opener and an opener to get more referrals. You partner that historical relationship data with what does your referral source need? I mean, what sets you apart from your competitors? You'll hear me talk about this all the time. My company talks about this all the time. Your USPs, your unique selling points. What is it that sets you apart? When you have that, I mean, everybody's got a program, everybody's got a nurse. I get that, but you know, how do you interact with your community in a way that no one else does? How do you have a program that's built in a way that no one else has it built? How do you support that? How do you work after hours? Cheryl Paltakis, which is one of the owners of my company, she always talks about her Spanish-speaking team. She doesn't just have a Spanish-speaking team as far as someone that speaks Spanish. Everything from intake, admissions, the whole 9 yards. Everybody they talk to in their process will be able to speak them in Spanish and not have an interpreter, but actually speak it. And because she's developed that, she's able to sell that as unique. It's not an interpreter service. It's not whatever. It is her having a completely built out program that sets her apart. Some of those things can be smaller too. I take referrals after 5. I come in person. You know, I work on the weekends. There's a lot of different things. Maybe my CHF program's built out with all these different things. If I'm a hospice, maybe I have a veterans program specific for end-of-life veterans. There's a lot of different programs out there, but you need to know how it makes you unique and leverage that. You also need to know what kind of patients does a referral source see. If you go into a podiatrist and you talk about maybe diabetic neuropathy, great job. You might get a referral. That's fantastic. If you go in and talk about neurological disorders, unless you're very specific, you're really wasting their time. You're not connecting with them. You're not meeting their need, and you're not bringing a unique selling point to the table that is going to meet a need for them that doesn't make them step out of their comfort zone. So you need to look at those referral sources and size them up and be ready to bring something to the table that's going to help them. And lastly, I'm a huge advocate for this. When I started in home health, I was thrown to the wolves, and I think a lot of sales reps get thrown to the wolves in a sense. You know, here's our flyer, good luck. Go get them, Tiger. You know, and if I'm non-clinical, which I personally am non-clinical, it wasn't until I went out there reading the wrong flyer or connecting to the wrong podiatrist that I learned what diabetic neuropathy was, or that there was a need for it. That I found out that cancer patients need protein and hydration, and they have a special set of needs that's different. You know, that referral sources want to see you on a Friday midday when their patients are at risk of passing away, because they want it to be easy to say, hey, I'm worried about this patient, go take care of them. They don't teach you that. You go and you kind of learn it, but they could. See, sales education is critical. It is absolutely crucial to how you're represented in the community. So not only do you look at your historical data and your referral source data, but you need to make sure that your sales team is educated and they can go out and knowledgeably talk about the process and what you offer. On top of that, and most people miss this, intake needs to be made aware as well. They can't just be left out. Your intake team should be right there with you. So just to kind of recap, utilize your CCSA to build a solid reason for each visit, okay? Then you need to plan ahead. don't you did the education, great. Now they're educated. It's not time to word vomit on these people. It's time to plan out. This week I'm going to talk about this. Maybe I'm going to back it up the following week. I'm going to talk about these things here. We do a 52-week plan at Home Care Sales where we're really laying out every single week so that you always have something to go back and talk to. And sure, the conversation may take a turn one way or the other, but plan ahead. Be ready and send your sales reps out prepared to meet the needs of your referral sources. And then be ready to discontinue unfruitful visits or assign a different sales rep. I mean, this might sound strange, but sometimes you just aren't a good fit. I like to think that every sales rep has the potential, but sometimes one sales rep just isn't made for one referral source. And if you can click the right person in, you're in. So generally, this is kind of off the cuff here, but 90 days is generally what we look at. After 90 days, if you haven't received a referral from a referral source, we've already laid in plans to get those. It's really make or break time, right? Are they going to work with us or are they not? All right, the power of partnerships. Now, I'm big on partnerships. I've had some great success with partnerships. I've had great success with partnerships outside of just the home health and hospice private duty world. But to do a partnership and to grow a strategy that works in 2017, it's really about actually building out that strategy and understanding each other and going for the common goal. So it doesn't matter. I listed a bunch of groups here, including hospice and home health, considering what business lines you have, potentially home infusion or DME, even sleep labs, though getting a registered I can't even say graphical technologist, it can be a lot of work. Still, building partnerships in this can raise your referral numbers through the roof. So consider what makes a logical partnership. You reach out. I like DME. DME is easy. So I reach out to a DME company, and I would want the higher-ups in my company to be connected. Okay, so I wouldn't just want, hey, I'm Jason. I'm going to work with Rob. We're partners. We're going to get some referrals. That's fantastic. But if I can actually say, I'm Rob, and here's, I'm Rob. I'm Jason, and here's Melanie and Cheryl, and I want to connect them with you, Rob, and your team, and we're going to see how we can work together and be kind of partners. Be relatively exclusive. You don't want to shut out any referral sources, but you want to be able to partner up on this. When you're setting up the requirements for that, you want to look at relative exclusivity. You want to look at seeing the same patient types and seeing the same referral sources. There are times that just doesn't make sense, right? So make sure that it makes sense. You're not just going to doctors who can sign orders. You're going to referral sources that you actually are able to meet their needs and that they're going to have a reasonable need for you. You need a true connection. You just got to buy in your team. How many times do you say, I'm going to start this, we're going to make this happen, and somebody on the team's like, yeah, okay, we'll see how it goes. That's not going to work. You're in or you're out, right? So if you're a sales rep or you're a company, you're both in on it, and you want to make this work and get more referrals, then finally, it's got to be mutually beneficial, okay? So look at that situation and say, you know, if I get referrals, will you get referrals? How do I work with you? And a plan with defined expectations will help this work, all right? So your expectation one is that you are going to visit referral sources together. Okay, you're going to do that. It's going to be a partner visit. You're going to go in. Rob and I are going to go in, and we're going to see Dr. Smith, okay? I'm going to also understand that we're going to visit them apart. So I may go the first Monday of the month, but the second Monday or the second week, if he's going Monday, I'm going Wednesday or Thursday. Because what I want to do is be like, hey, you're the guy that works with Rob, right? I got a referral for Rob the other day, and I'm like, hey, listen, I can get it to him. I can call Rob. You know, does that patient need our services too? So you want to be able to have that kind of tapered off effect where you're seen as together, and you can actually add extra face time through the other person. You also want to understand the referral process. This is key. I mean, if I'm working with a DME provider and I don't understand that they have a face-to-face they need filled out and that they need this to get the equipment to the client, then I'm not going to be able to serve them. And if they bring me a script that says eval for PT, that's fantastic, but I got a lot more paperwork. And even though pre-claim's on hold, if I was in a pre-claim state where pre-claim was active, I need tons of paperwork. So now I'm back bugging the doctor. So you really want to understand what you need to turn your referrals into admissions or sales. And then, I covered this before. The relationship you build needs to be beyond a sales rep, like admin to admin, owner to owner. Key people in your company need to be connected. Now, I said there's some things that really connect with me. Sales and operational harmony is absolutely one of those things. So I actually just did a presentation with Playmaker on getting sales and operations to work together. And I think you can still download it from like playmakercrm.com in the resources tab. You can actually listen to it as a whole. Now, understanding sales and operations and how they work together kind of is to understand two totally different functions. One, sales, by definition, I just went to the business dictionary. Sales is the activity or business of selling product or services, right? While operations is transforming a resource or data inputs into desired goods, services, or results, and create and deliver value to the customer. So what it's saying is I get a referral, I admit the patient, and I deliver a service that helps them out. I bring value to the table, right? Well, I'm going to paint it a different way. Sales, they're professional daters. Spend all day long on the honeymoon. We are dating. Operations is the marriage. We dated forever, and now we decided to do this thing, and we're together. Okay? It's not hypothetical. It's not flowers, roses, and everything. It is the everyday. It is, I've been married for 13 years. I can think of all these examples, but I'm not putting any of them into a recording. So I will say this, marriage isn't always easy, but dating can be a perpetual honeymoon, right? So we're dating our referral sources. Well, while sales is also dating operations, okay? It's their job to wine and dine, whatever. But operations is married to sales. Unlike sales in the state of perpetual dating where they're dating doctors, referral sources, I hope they're not dating doctors, I'm not going there. But they're in this perpetual dating. Operations, they're working with sales to take care of patients. They're married to us. All the lovey-dovey can be passed, and we can't expect them to deliver anything more than just loyalty to us. While sales paints a picture of value to a referral source, operations actually delivers that value. Okay? So before I get into that, I just want to point this out. There's a point I'm trying to make, and it's this. Anybody here who's on sales, we have a little over 100 attendees plus. Anybody here in sales, you need to know that it's your job to stay good and healthy with operations. And it's not their job to stay good with you. It's their job to respect you, potentially, to respect the brand, to work with you, to make sure patients are taken care of good. But it's on you to make sure that you're working with them and that they're happy. You're the dater, they're the married. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Now, it's interesting because you look at sales and operations has this big picture, right? They're delivering the value. No money, no mission. We need referrals, and just like sales, we want referrals and we want to take care of patients. Well, sales is like, yeah, I want referrals, and then some more referrals, and then maybe some more referrals. We'll get lots of referrals. It's going to be excellent. Well, operations tends to get away from just focusing on admissions because there's so many things to distract them, so many things that are vital to the success of your company. I have them here: staff schedule, availability, proper documentation, patient coordination, compliance, surveys. All these things say, I really want to admit your patient, but I'm holding this thing together, sometimes by a thread, right? Well, sales, once again, is driving towards admissions. So there is a methodology for having sales and operations work together in harmony. And this is understanding the two phases of operations and sales. So sales is out to get referrals. We get that, right? And nobody here, everybody's tracking with me. Admissions are when the referral goes to operations and then goes and becomes an admission or doesn't, right? The key area that we miss here is that referral, that very precious thing that you've been fighting to get, that is the key, or at least one of the major keys to getting operations and winning them over from sales. It's also one of the keys of getting operations having a great relationship with sales. If they admit most of the patients, sales is just happy as can be, right? But that referral, that one key circle right in the middle, has to be done in a way that the admissions or the operations can use it. So if you're in sales now and you want to promote operational harmony, it's key to understand everything that makes operations easier. Is it easier if you have certain paperwork ahead of time? Is it easier if you have, an H&P? Is it easier? What are the things that would make their job easier, and how can you strive to give them the perfect referral? Because when you do, you see more admissions because you have all your ducks in a row. So once again, I put a lot of pressure on sales, and I know a lot of people here that are listening are from sales, but I want you to kind of click this in, if nothing else. It's your job to win over operations. You are the perpetual dater. You date forever. You are always, always dating. Don Juan, you got this. It is always what you do. You need to win over operations. One of the best ways to do that is to study and master the perfect referral. So operations, if there's anybody here with operations, this is for all of us here. Everyone's responsible if a referral is won or lost. And everyone's responsible if you fulfill your brand promises. So if you say you're going to do something and then someone in operations doesn't do it, I've heard this from sales many times. They didn't want to admit them on the weekend, or we didn't have enough this or that, or you didn't have the paperwork, or I started calling the doctor for the order because I couldn't understand this wasn't legible. It doesn't matter what the reason is. It can be a fantastic reason. You're in for it. If the ship sinks or floats, everyone's on. And this is just one last key thing. Every time that phone rings, you have an opportunity to increase referral potential. Now, I'm going to close this out by talking a little bit about Zappos. I don't know if you're familiar. They're an online shoe company. They garnered a lot of fame for their customer service, okay? So Zappos has a 365-day, one-year return policy. You can return their shoes for any reason. The shipping on returning shoes is free. They even encourage you, if you don't know what your size is, to order several sizes, send the ones you don't want back. They have a 7-week customer service training program. So their customer service team that fulfills this brand promise is trained for 7 weeks before they're off and running, and they have no scripts. Okay, imagine a worldwide online retailer that trains their team to never look at a thing and say, oh, thank you for calling Zappos. How would you do this? It's not like them reading from a script from a computer. They've just got to know it. Okay? So if you look at Zappos, it sounds crazy, right? Like this huge customer service thing. In 2011, Zappos sent flowers to a woman who ordered 6 different pairs of shoes because her feet were damaged by harsh medical treatments. 2012, a customer service rep went to a rival store to buy a pair of shoes for a woman staying at a hotel in their hometown because they ran out of stock. The same year, they overnighted a free pair of shoes to a best man who arrived at a wedding without shoes. They also paid the tolls of the Massachusetts Turnpike one day in November, just paying it forward. So you ask yourself, why go through all the trouble? I mean, to me, I can tell you right now, it sounds expensive, right? I look at it, and it doesn't look profitable. It looks hard. No one else is doing it, right, except for them, and no one cares. Here's the thing, and this is one of my probably all-time favorite things to get to tie onto this. They sold to Amazon for over $900 million. Some reports say 800, but it was $900 million. And the employees received a dividend of $40 million in both cash and stock options. They're a shoe company. I mean, that is crazy. So you ask, why go through all the trouble? Well, for us, and I'm not telling you need to, create these unperformable tasks like they did, but in the medical field, customer service is all but absent. And I don't just mean in home health or hospice. Our customer service, I like to think we're through the roof, right? But how many times have you been to a doctor or a hospital or worked with someone and just left thinking, this was terrible. They didn't care. I was too busy. Try going to the ER and have one good experience at the ER. I have yet to do it. So in our field, customer service is missing, right? It's just something that, not necessarily our field, but the medical field as a whole. Also, behind the scenes, healthcare providers don't have to offer great service. And a doctor, if he's the only option in town, he doesn't have to be nice. Or if he's got enough patients, he doesn't have to be nice. Or a referral source, a discharge plan, they don't have to be nice. And lastly, with margins the way they are in our industry and around our industry, and with all this regulation, customer service just doesn't seem like it's that important. We're all trying to survive, right? But here's the thing. If we lead by example in this case, if we go out and find that referral source need, meet that need, and be better, be nicer, fulfill our brand promises. If we step up customer service to a level where, you send us a referral, we'll make sure they get care. If it's not us, we'll go to a competitor. I've heard every different kind of line that you can work it at. If we can lead by customer service, by example, our referral sources will know we're different than the guy who gives them a hard time every time they have a referral. I mean, when a referral comes over and you ask for more documentation, can you fax more orders? You forget that the doctor doesn't like anything faxed. You call back for more info 7 times in a day. That can be really challenging, right? So pay attention to the details of your referral sources and learn what matters to your referral sources and let it matter to you as well. And lastly, if they can't get a hold of you, if they can't get to the right person, how much do you want to work? How many times do you want to call your cable provider, I'll leave them unnamed, and have trouble getting what you want or what you need? You need to be accessible. You need to be more accessible. You need your cell number. You need to be connected. So that's a key part. Now, if you want to win more referrals than your competitors, make sure you follow this advice as closely as possible. This advice right here. Nothing should be easier than sending you a referral. Of all of your process with your referral sources, the one thing that needs to be easiest is working with you, because if you make it a challenge, if you keep asking for more, if you're not content with what they have, if you don't educate them, if you don't serve them with great customer service, and you make it challenging to send a referral, then your competitors will get it. It'll be easier. Well, I just want to thank you all for attending. I'm Jason Llewellyn. Rob, you're back on here. I also wanted to point out, this actually ended up being possible because of Playmaker CRM, working with Seth West, and I was at kind of a last-minute fill-in for him. But if you want to learn more about how Devero or Playmaker CRM can drive business growth, look on the screen. You can get a free demo with Playmaker, connect with them, any questions. You also can contact me direct. We offer consulting services, a 5-step program. I can help you grow your referrals. Just give me a call, okay?
Great, and then let's go ahead and take some questions here. If you have any questions, you can submit them through the question pane, and we will review them and answer them. One of the things that that we have a question about, and I've often wondered this myself. I have operated sales teams before, and who's the ideal candidate to hire in terms of a rep for your agency? And there's a debate if it should be a clinician or a salesperson from outside the industry, or maybe a salesperson from a similar industry. You mentioned a list of folks or types of businesses that you can partner with. What's your theory on that, or what's your take on that?
Well, I'll tell you, so when it comes to clinical or non-clinical, there's something to be said for having the built-in knowledge of a clinician, right? So when you're talking about a nurse and you're talking to a specific type of doctor, they can be knowledgeable, they can hand off information, and that's fantastic. But I got to tell you, with proper training, a sales rep that's not clinical, someone who has been trained in sales and shows an affinity for that, with the proper training, they can perform just as well, and in a lot of cases outperform a clinical person. So to prefer one over the other is it's challenging. It really depends. Can you train a non-clinical person, or are you working with a resource that can train a non-clinical person? Because if you're not, then I would probably shoot for clinical 9 times out of 10.
Okay. You've mentioned data. You're using your own data. You also mentioned external data sources about who's referring home care, that sort of thing. Is there a public place that you that information is available, or do you normally have to purchase it, or how does that information get obtained?
Well, being that Playmaker worked with us, they actually sell a data set called Target Watch, which is where you can get a lot of that data. There are pieces of data in the Home Health Compare as far as knowing your scores and how you rank from a performance level. But to actually gain access to that data, you generally have to work with a provider. In my experience, I'm somewhat biased, but Playmaker CRM has the easiest to use platform for that. And I mean, they integrate with Devero, so anybody here is a Devero client can submit a referral, and then it's in Playmaker, and you can see your data right beside that other data. So it's really helpful.
Sure. So let's see, got a question here. You might want to answer it maybe offline privately. Someone asking about the 52-week sales plan. I don't know if that's a proprietary offering that you have, or if it's something that you can generally tell people about.
I could go general. So we offer a 52-week sales plan. It's built up with unique selling programs as well as observances and different things. Basically, when you have the 52-week program, you know what to talk about every single week. It's actually something that we're very passionate about. Once again, I don't want to come in here and do a sales pitch, but when you arm your team with exactly what they need to say and kind of get into that proper training piece, they're going to go out there and succeed. So.
Okay. And how about someone asked here, what about if you're in a new area, or maybe you're a newly licensed Medicare certified agency? How would you start getting your foot in the door with these referral sources and generating some referrals?
Well, and that's almost like a whole different strategy, because obviously you can't lean on your historical data. You certainly can purchase data to find out who the key referral sources are in your market, and get into that. But one of the vital areas of getting launched and actually getting started is to understand what you do. If I'm just a Medicare certified agency that just started, you might be subscribing to the idea that a nurse is a nurse is a nurse, but that's an antiquated idea. You need to know how you're different. We don't just have nursing. We offer this. We step beyond what you would expect, or like, we've developed a CHF program that specifically keeps patients out of the hospital and treats the symptoms of that diagnosis. And while everyone may have a CHF program, you might bring a therapist in to talk about, the specifics of that, or how you can work therapy in with it, or you might bring in a telehealth, things like that. So while I'm spinning benign, if you will, not necessarily tying in everybody's sales pitch because everybody's different, but look for what sets you out as unique and put that foot forward. You can sound like a fresh breath of air. And once again, take your sales team, get them trained. You've got to get your sales team trained. They need to know how to go out there and succeed. Take the time, teach them about diagnosis, teach them who they're talking to, and yeah, that's the key points to it.
If you don't have resources for that, I mean, what are some? I mean, we on a team I manage, for instance, we had some non-clinical staff, and we studied medical terminology, as a base. We did that sort of on a self-pace. Then we worked with different members of the clinical team, so we better understood the wound care program, the memory loss program, and the specialized programs that were in the agency. I mean, what can you do beyond that? I mean, everyone's so busy in an agency, it's hard to, especially if you don't have a formal team per se. What other things can you do, or maybe as a sales rep that you could even initiate to learn more?
Well, I gotta tell you, I feel like you're pushing me into a perfect sales pitch, and I'm really not trying to sell to y'all, but obviously home care sales offers that training in both digital and in-person format and those things. But I'll tell you, outside of all that, don't try as a non-clinical person to learn without the guidance of someone clinical. So if I'm going out and like I said, I'd mentioned diabetic neuropathy, there's a good chance half of the non-clinical salespeople out there would be like, what is he talking about? If I just went and looked it up, I wouldn't understand how it tied to a podiatrist. I'd be like, okay, there's some, how does this work? But if a clinical person, if I take time with a nurse, or I take time with someone who's developed a training for this or whatever, and I say, okay, I want to understand how I talk to a podiatrist. You could learn the diagnosis that matter the most and actually have something to put that good foot forward.
Okay, got just a few other questions here, and can you stick around and answer a few more, Jason?
Absolutely.
Great. So how about a cadence for visiting your referral sources? I mean, let's say you're approaching a new referral source. How often should you make contact? Every week, every other week, or every month?
Oh man. So it depends on the referral source, and it really depends on what kind of referrals they're going to give, how much they're going to give. And so we outline part of that in a 5-step process that we do, but you've got to figure out what their potential is, and then schedule your calls generally weekly if they're going to be qualified, or less if they're not.
And then you mentioned having a plan for each time you come in there. I mean, you really need to have a message or something of value to, or part of a strategy to make that call worthwhile, right?
Right. But once again, that's all part of the training and being very specific to the referral sources you're speaking to.
Mm-hmm. All right, how about suggestions for differentiating yourself in a very competitive home care marketplace where hospitals take the most of the referrals?
I love this question. I love it. I love it. So I spend a lot of time in market intelligence data all over the country. And while hospitals have hospital-based home health agencies, I got to tell you, they rarely get, on average, it's like 64% of the referrals throughout the whole country. So that leaves 46% of those referrals as open game, right? On top of that, some of the best referral sources can be not just hospitals, but those hospital-based agencies. There's 1,000 reasons that they might not be able to take care of a patient. If you're a CO in-state, they might not be able to operate in certain counties if they are short-staffed or they're overwhelmed. You have more opportunities to fulfill that need. That's a big area where people, it's kind of a misnomer. They think that because they have a hospital-based agency, they have no chance. But the data almost always backs up that they not only have a chance, they've got 46% of the referrals coming out. And that's usually an astronomically high number. If they can separate themselves from the pack, what Cheryl, one of our owners, would say, if they can partner that with a why statement, if they can go in, connect with their referral sources, and give them something more meaningful than just, hey, we have a great program. Instead, they can say, you care about the patients, and we do too, and this is how we're going to line up our belief system. Like for instance, you want to keep patients out of the hospital. We specialize in that. Can we help you keep your patients out of the hospital? While that's a really simplified form of saying it, the doctor now is like, yeah, I want my patients out of the hospital. You're not just saying you're going to sell me something. You're going to keep them out. We both agree on the same thing. Now, there's 1,000 techniques that work with that, but partnering that why statement when you connect is vital to bringing that referral source in from the hospital and winning those other 46% of referrals.
Have you had agencies have any luck going directly to hospital administration and, say, presenting data about the types of diagnoses or patients that they're discharging and the hospital data and speaking to that? Have you encountered much of that type of a strategy?
Absolutely. And it's funny, we actually have a video on this called "You Only Get One Shot." There are times when you get this amazing opportunity to connect, and it's not somebody you can see on a weekly basis, right? So your normal hospital and different ACOs, and they're looking for those outcomes. They're looking for outcomes they can actually hang their hat on, right? Your discharge planners have a good idea of what they need. They know your services. They get that. But when you can actually partner that with real life, this is how we have made patients better, then they're able to partner with you with a clear conscience, and they're going to succeed because of that. So absolutely, as far as targeting administration, CEOs, buying into banquet dinners to connect, I mean, without a doubt, that's an angle you should play. You just need your people to know their outcome scores. Don't just send a sales rep who's going to say, we have the best nurses. No, you need to send someone who says, hey, this is how we performed here, here, and here, and I looked up your numbers, and you performed here, here, and here. We can offer improvement. We've noticed that your agency does this, this, and this. We can actually offer some better numbers in this area. Do you have a patient or some patients we can get on this program and start helping you save more of your money, achieve your goals, keep patients out of the hospital? You get the idea.
Right. Okay, good. Well, it looks like we're about 5 minutes past the hour, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up the recording here, and wanted to thank everyone for attending today.